Hello, and welcome to this episode of Coach Caris, Itchy, Bitchy, and guests. How are you all? Hope you're grand. Today I'm going to speak about what I've learned about myself in 2025, and this is to do with goals, right? So, it's not a highlight reel, right? It's not a, oh my God, look at me because I am awesome. It's about setting goals at the beginning of the year, which I did at the beginning of 2025. And it's about reflecting on all of those goals and letting me know and letting you know whether I have actually smashed them. There are some. Whether I've half-assed some of them, absolutely. And if there's ones I didn't touch at all, 100%. Not because, not because I'm incapable, or because I'm shit. But looking back, some of the goals that I set alongside some other goals made some of the goals not very realistic. Which, if I'd actually sat and thought about them, then I might have realised that myself. But also, life sometimes gets in the way. Priorities change, energy dips, and sometimes you just need to be really honest with yourself. So, we talk a lot about setting goals, especially people on social media, right? Fitness coaches and life coaches and stuff like that. We speak a lot about it, but we don't really speak about reviewing the goals. So a lot of the time you would have set some goals at the beginning of 2025, and now everybody's like, whoa, it's nearly 2026, so let's set some goals. Whereas you don't actually reflect on the 2025 goals that you set. And I think whether you smashed your goals or whether you didn't, there's still stuff that can be learned from both of those things. So, like the goals that I didn't manage to do has probably taught me more than the goals that I did manage. Does that make sense? But quite often we don't reflect and we don't review because we know that we haven't hit some of the goals. So we just assume that we're a failure. So we just don't speak about it again and we just move on. Whereas there's actually probably a lot more you could learn from and a lot more you could take from the goals that you didn't smash and then carry that forward onto 2026 once you've actually reviewed it. So this is me. I'm doing it here, live, today, just in case, because I would like it to help you to do the same. All right, so I've got my wee journal here, like my Coach Caris journal. This is last year's colour, by the way. It's pink if you're watching me on YouTube. All right, this year's colour is turquoise. Wow, I know. Right, so I've got home and garden goals, work goals. I've got days of alcohol because, so remember, I set these at the end of 2024, right? So a year ago. So the fact that the alcohol and the effect it was having me at that time was obviously in my head, right? Now, not drinking alcohol was not even a goal last year, but it's been in my brain now for a couple of years. So I'll cover that as well. All right, we've got fat loss goals here. I've got things that I'd like to try, not really goals, just things that I'd like to try. Ladies that lift social, because I wanted us all to socialise. And I've got gym goals, strength and CrossFit movement goals. Yeah, right. So firstly, that's a lot of bloody goals, by the way. There's a lot of headings, a lot of subheadings. So I might have been marginally over ambitious. That's what I'm thinking now. But anyway, right. So not every goal fails because of lack of discipline, right? So I'm just going to go through some of these, right? So home and garden goals. Excuse me, we live in an old house, right? We moved in, I can't actually remember when we moved in. I want to say 8 years, but yeah, I can't actually remember. Anyway, it's an old Victorian house, right? So when we moved in, we spent the first couple of years doing everything. Like we went absolute, like mental, absolutely mental. Like there was ceilings down, we replastered ceilings ourselves, we plastered the walls ourselves. It needed rewired. Some of the heating needed renewed. We need new windows. The floorboards needed sanded. We needed a new kitchen. We needed a new bathroom. We had to put an ensuite in. Everywhere needed decorated. There was a lot, right? A lot to be done. So we went mental for the first 2 years, and then we scunnered ourselves a bit with it. So there was a lot of stuff still to get done. And then we hit COVID. and well, there was nothing else to do, so we did the hallway. So we'd been living with a lime green hall with daisy stencils on it for a very long time. That was quite annoying, but we'd just scunnered ourselves and we couldn't be arsed. So I wrote a list this year, well, last year, 2024. We totally haven't done half the stuff on it. We've spent most of our time this year in the garden. So we've built a patio, relaid another patio, built some vegetable patches, sorted the back steps. When you come out our back door, you go down steps. The railings were hanging off. It was actually a death trap. Anyway, we fixed all of that, and then we've done things like repaint the vestibule and stuff. But we're now getting to the stage that we need to go back round and do everything again. So a lot of that stuff we haven't done because we chose to go in the garden. So, but everything, when I look at the list and when I review it, everything on there is pretty realistic. So I'm just going to add it on for this year. All right, work goals. Work goals for Coach Caris, right? And I'm not being a wanker here and speaking about myself in third person, right? But obviously everything I do is under the Coach Caris brand. So it's been pretty epic, by the way, 2025. It's been absolutely mental. So at the beginning of 2025, I was coaching 5 different groups of people, which was given me absolute overwhelm, and I don't think I was coaching any of them particularly well. I also wanted to expand my Ladies That Lift, and I wanted to expand my online nutrition coaching. So I went, toodled off and did some research, and I found myself a business coach. So AF Mentors was the one that I chose. So I signed up with them in February, which gave me the confidence, the knowledge, but more importantly, the confidence to actually do something about the coaching that I was doing, and to actually make the decision about, I suppose, about finding my niche and about who I wanted to work with. So it's been a long, slow process of deciding that, I'm actually a midlife woman, and I just actually want to work with midlife women. So there was a couple of hard decisions had to be made. I shed a couple of tears over situations a couple of times, but anyway, cut a long story short, I gave my CrossFit Kids and CrossFit Teens away to a lovely couple of girls at the gym, and I stopped doing my small group PT, which was men and women. Found the men PTs or CrossFit, and then some of the girls left, and a couple of them came to my Ladies That Lift, which is cool. So I basically narrowed down my coaching to midlife women, whether that be face-to-face Ladies That Lift for strength and weightlifting and general awesomeness and confidence. And also I rebranded my online nutrition coaching as the Midlife Reset to include nutrition, daily habits and confidence. A lot of my coaching is about confidence, whether you're standing in front of me with a barbell or whether we're online. And I also wanted to launch a group version of my online coaching. So my On Fire group is the stuff that we do before the fat loss. So quite often when women come and work with me, they think that we're just going to go all in for fat loss, whereas in fact they've actually been living on about 800 calories to 1,000 calories a day, Monday to Friday, for the last 20 odd years. So there's things that we need to do before that. So we need to build their confidence. We need to get their self-belief up. We need to get their sleep sorted. We need to help them manage their perimenal or midlife symptoms. And we need to get them believing in themselves. So we do that before fat loss. So that's what my online coaching, my On Fire, group coaching is about. So it's been massive. There's been loads of changes. There's been lots of no thank yous, and there's been a lot of yes, I would like to do this. No, I don't want to do that. So yeah, it's been pretty, in the world of Coach Caris, it's been pretty epic. Other things I've started up, I've got a YouTube channel. I've started doing podcasts. I'm on a podcast on Spotify, which is also pretty epic and pretty out of my comfort zone. And that wasn't something that I ever thought I would do when I started with my business coach. So I worked with them from February to August, and it just felt like I had a bit of support. And again, it's a bit like, I suppose it's a bit like getting a fat loss coach or a PT. If you're just like me, like just a normal person, instead of dicking about for 6 years and just fannying about, just invest in yourself. Just pay the money and invest in yourself and get a bit of support and get working with somebody that's been through it, that's been where you want to be, and just follow them. because even though you think that you're spending more money, you're not. You'll have dicked about for 6 years, you'll have lost time, you'll have spent money on that one fad and the next fad and the next fad, whereas you could just actually commit monthly for a mid to longer term period of time and hit your goals. That's just, honestly, see, when you get a coach, you just get it. Right, anyway, work goals, smashed, absolutely smashed them. Right, fat loss goals, this was my other, so I had work goals and I had me goals. So my goal was to lose some body fat. So I dropped from 176 pounds to 148 pounds. My goal was 150. I went a wee bit lower than that, and I got there last July. So April, so 15 months I worked with my fat loss coach, my body composition coach, right? I then took the summer off because you can only diet, you can only go into fat loss for so long. I'm sitting currently at about, so I started at 176, I got down to 148, I'm sitting currently at 155, so half a stone on over the summer, and I've just signed back up with my coach again. So this time it's about packing some muscle on. So it's still about losing weight, but it's also about gaining some strength. So it's not necessarily about scale weight this time. So I'm not actually expecting my scale weight to move that much. But I want to more change my body composition, so cut back my body fat and put some muscle on. So again, right, I could stumble about, like, I know what I'm doing, right? I know what I'm doing. I'm not saying I know everything, but I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing with fat loss. I know how to do it. I know all the accountability tools that I give my clients. I have access to all of them as well, right? But you need somebody to keep you accountable. Absolutely need somebody to keep you accountable. Most of us, right, we're all educated women. We're all midlife educated women, successful in a lot of parts of our lives. But for some reason, we just can't see the benefit of having a wingman. So if you're thinking about it, and if you've got a goal and you're struggling to get to your goal, go and get somebody that can help you get there. Kid you not, all right? Right, so fat loss goals, smashed them. Absolutely smashed them. Ladies at Lift socials, even though it wasn't necessarily a goal, well, the goal was just to get everybody socialising outside the gym. Smashed that, all right? We had our Christmas socials, we had summer socials, so we went for a 12-mile walk along the canal and went for lunch, had a couple of drinks. We did a photo shoot in the gym, which was fabulous. Most of us were in shorts and bra tops, so I was just encouraging the ladies to expose a bit more skin than they normally would. That was amazing. And then we had other things going on that some of the ladies organised, which was amazing. We went swimming at Jupiter Artland. We went to Cocktail Week in Edinburgh, and one of the ladies invited us up to her farm as well so that we could see how our dairy farm worked. So that was fascinating. So that was, honestly, that was amazing. So gym goals, right? Gym goals and strength goals. Most of these I have not hit. So my gym goals were deadlift 120 kilos, get my body weight above my head, which was 68 kilos, get my front squat up to 75 kilos, and get my back squat up to 90 kilos. Right, now what I didn't realise, which I knew, but I didn't think about it, was that in the world of strength, right, there's a saying, and it's mass moves mass, or mass shifts mass. Right, and what this means is that the larger your body is, technically the more weight you can use, right? You can move. It's not relevant to everybody, right? So when I was 176 pounds, for example, my deadlift was 107.5 kilos, right? So I wanted to get that to 120 kilos in a year, right? That is totally doable. That is an absolutely realistic goal until you drop 26 pounds of body fat, right? So I've lost about 10 kilos off my deadlift. I've lost, my back squat was 80. It would be a push. I could probably back squat 70. So I've lost about 10 kilos off of that. And I've lost about 5 kilos off my front squat. My overhead, getting above my head, to be fair, I've lost about 5 kilos off of that. And my bench press, I've lost about 5 kilos off of that as well. So my strength has dropped, definitely. And that is down to being in a calorie deficit for such a long time. That's okay, right? I've made peace with that. I'm cool with it. But if I was rolling these goals over to next year, it wouldn't be realistic to keep my deadlift goal at 120 when I'm now sitting at about 95 for my deadlift instead of 107. So my goal for next year for all of those deadlifts, front squats, back squats, and body weight is to get back to where I was when I was 26 pounds heavier. Yeah, I think that's a realistic goal. However, the opposite effect has happened with my CrossFit gymnastic movements. So I have managed to get strict pull-ups, strict chin-ups. I have managed to get kipping pull-ups and string kipping pull-ups together. So on the 25th of February, I did 21 pull-ups in a CrossFit Open competition, right? And I had to do them all in singles. I couldn't string them together. And to be fair, it was amazing. I actually cried at the end of it because I'd never got any. And I managed to get 21. It took me 15 minutes, right? It took me ages to get them, but I still managed to get them. So I've managed to string them together now. So I can do about 5 in a row now. Let's face it, I'm not going to win the games, but it's progress. It's absolute progress. I had a couple of toes to bar. Again, I had to do them in singles. I can now do about 4 sets of 3, 3 sets of 3, 4 sets of 3, which is brilliant. And I can now do kip and handstand push-ups. Again, not a massive amount. I can string 3 together. Then I need a 5-minute rest, and then I can go again, right? But as far as CrossFit goes, right, you'll never complete CrossFit. Never. There's always something else that you can work on. And I remember 7 years ago when I started CrossFit, I remember being all arrogant and smug that you are when you go into something new and you think you can conquer the world. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm totally going to have a pull-up within a year. It's taken me 6 years to get a pull-up, right? And while at the time, there was loads of people who kept saying to me, you just need to get stronger. You just need to get stronger. Whereas, do you know what? See if they just said to me, you just need to lose fat, I might have got there a hell of a lot quicker. But people don't say that to people, and that's fine because people are nice, really. Mostly people are nice. So it wasn't about just getting stronger. It was about getting lighter by losing body fat and getting stronger. So we are where we are, all right? So I haven't set my goals for next year yet. I will do that, and obviously I'll share them on the wee pod as well. But more than likely, my strength goals will be to get back to where I was when I was 26 pounds heavier, which I think is quite realistic. And to keep practicing, I would like to be competent in all the gymnastic movements. Well, the ones that I've spoke about, the pull-ups, the toes to bar, the handstand push-ups. Because at the moment I can do literally the bare minimum, and I would like to be able to do more than just the bare minimum. So that would be my goals for that. All right. And then the last thing, the days of alcohol, right? So 29 days ago, well, the 23rd of November, I had a bottle of rosé prosecco. This was over 8 hours. A bottle of pink prosecco and half a large glass of rosé wine. Right, that was on a Sunday. Over 8 hours. It started at 2:00, and I think I finished at 10. And the hangover that I had the next day was completely disproportional to the amount of alcohol that I'd drunk. Right, I woke up with the fear, palpitations, the sweats. Managed to eat so much shit the next day. Did not smash any of my work goals that day. In fact, I barely functioned that day, right? But the fact that I've even started taking a note of the days that I was drinking from the 22nd of December 2004 shows that it was in my brain and I had been thinking about it. It's probably been 2 to 3 years, definitely 2 years, that my relationship and thoughts towards alcohol have totally changed. And about 2 years ago, I didn't want to drink alcohol anymore. However, I didn't have the I don't know what you would call it. I didn't have the balls. I didn't have the self-belief. I didn't have the courage to actually make that statement and believe that I could follow it through. So Sunday, the 23rd of November, was my last alcoholic drink. I understand it's only been 29 days, right? But making the decision that I am not going to drink for the foreseeable future is like a fucking gigantic weight getting lifted off my shoulders. Will I drink again? More than likely. Will I drink right now? No. At the moment, I have no interest in it whatsoever. And I now can think about the day after in advance, if that makes sense. I'm just not willing. I've got body goals, I've got business goals, I've got client goals, and I'm just not willing to lose a day due to having a couple of glasses of wine. That's where I'm at with that at the moment, all right? And again, like I said, it's not a look at me. This has, do you know, and I've had so many lovely comments on my socials and so many lovely messages just saying, good on you, you're so strong, right? And I don't want anybody to think that I'm fucking superhuman, because I'm not. It has been a fucking slog to make that decision. And I'll say what I say about the fat loss. The only difference between me and you is that I started before you. That is the only difference. The only difference, definitely. And I think speaking to so many midlife women about their relationship and their thoughts towards alcohol, there are so many of us out there that it's just hitting us differently. And I just can't be fucked with it anymore. It's just not for me at this moment in time. Right? God, that was a wee mini rant there. Anyway, right, so the goals that I've set, right, and like I said, I will share my 2026 goals when I get round to doing them, but not every goal that I wrote down, right, I didn't fail every goal because of lack of discipline. I failed some of the goals because they were unrealistic to start with, like the strength goals. The strength goals were fine had I not decided to have body fat goals at the same time. All right, so it's down to life. I suppose it's down to life. It's down to how each goal interacts with each other goal. But also, I got injured, so I hurt my hip and my quad about September, right? And it's still ongoing. I trained today. I did some training today with a PVC pipe and an empty barbell because everything else was hurting. That's under control. I'm working with a physio, etc. But sometimes your goals sometimes just doesn't happen, right? And it's just your energy changes, your lifestyle changes, your values change. But having the right goal and it being the right time is an actual thing. So sometimes you just need to let them go. Jasper has a wee rant every time I go on here. Anyway, sometimes you need to let them go, or you need to adjust your goal. So keeping the same goal but giving yourself a longer time scale, or just scaling back on your goals, right? That's not failing. That's being realistic. It's absolutely being realistic, all right? The goals that I did smash, like the gymnastic movements and the fat loss goals, they were boring. I was very boring and I was very consistent. And no matter what your goal is, that's what you need to do, right? There's a saying, you need to put the reps in. Now, you don't need to, I don't mean like you need to put the reps in as in you need to start lifting a barbell if barbell's not your goals, right? But you need to do the groundwork. You need to just keep turning up. You need to follow the process, regardless of what your goal is, right? It's about no drama. It's just about turning up when you said you were going to turn up. It's about repetition, it's about structure, and it's about discipline. It's not about motivation, because motivation is shit. It's about repetition, it's about structure, showing up when you say that you're going to show up, and it's about discipline. Absolutely. It's about being boring and consistent. Motivation will very much get you started, but discipline is what will get you over the finish line. Absolutely. The goals that I didn't hit, right, they've taught me just as much as the goals that I did hit. The goals that I did hit, right, I'm genuinely so proud of myself. Absolutely. I'm so proud for just doing it. Absolutely. But the goals that I didn't, right, the goals that I didn't hit, did I fail? I'm going to say no. Right, I'm not a 2-year-old. I don't need a lecture off everybody, right? I'm quite a self-disciplined person, but I'm going to change them. So I'm going to keep the goals that I set last year that I failed, but I'm just going to give myself a wee bit longer to get there, because there's no need to guilt yourself if it didn't work. You just need to try something else. You just need to do something different. Yeah, it's very true. So I've also learned there's still bits of me that overcommit. This has been massive as well, right? I have worked massively hard on setting boundaries and practicing saying no thank you. I've had 2 social events this December or this Christmas season, right? Because I've had so many invites and I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't miss my sleep. I can't have disrupted sleep. I just can't do it. So a lot of things I've said no to. Has the world ended? No, it has not. Funny that, eh? So I'm just not doing what's necessarily expected of me anymore. And I'm just going to do what makes me happy. Because it's my life. But practicing no thank you takes practice. Of course it does. So I work very well with boundaries. I have found that out as well. My little journal, I have journaled pretty much. This is pretty much full. And I have journaled consistently. I haven't done it every night, but I have journaled consistently. However, I have journaled every night since I came back from Lanzarote in November. Because it helps me. It helps me tick off what I've achieved for that day and think about what I'm going to achieve the next day. So I do work very well with boundaries, but it's also very hard to set yourself boundaries. And it is something that takes practice and it is something that you need to work on. But it's also, I think, very, very helpful. So discipline, just what I said to you before, right? Discipline is a thing that will get you over the finish line. But I always used to think that discipline, it was quite an aggressive thing to have. Whereas now, because I've been practicing it for a year, it doesn't feel aggressive. It feels intentional. It feels like I finally understand that turning up to the gym is more important than having an awesome gym session. Like following your calorie deficit most of the time, and I mean most of the time as in 80 and 90% of the time, is the only way that you will learn to automatically make the healthier choice. So it's about doing everything with intent. It's about moving intentionally. It's about putting things in your diary intentionally. It's about working and being productive intentionally. It's about making healthy choices intentionally. It's not about, well, I'll get there eventually. It's not about that. It's about being intentional and having a bit of discipline. It's not punishment. It's more self-respect, I suppose. I think it's about holding yourself accountable, but also not being mean to yourself and not being a dick to yourself if you fuck it up. Because remember, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't ask my clients for perfection. I ask them to try. And if they fuck it up, I ask them to think about why and what we could do differently next time. Yeah? We're all educated women. We all know what we, in inverted speech thingamabobbers, should be doing. All right? But guilting yourself because you didn't manage to do that is not going to help. All that's going to do is overwhelm you. It's about reflecting on the choices that you made at that time and then remembering that the next time you're in that situation, you have a choice again. That's where growth comes from. Yeah. I also realise about myself that I'm quite determined when I put my mind to it. I'm not a quitter. I'm absolutely not a quitter. Definitely not. But also that changing a goal is not, it doesn't mean you're quitting. You need to pause. You need to give yourself time to reflect. You need to pivot, as Ross from Friends would say, pivot with his sofa. And you need to simplify things. So quite a lot of the time, overwhelm comes from overcomplicating and overthinking stuff, whereas we actually just need to keep stuff simple. Very true. Consistency over intensity, consistency over perfection. I say that all the time to my clients. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. So overall, 2025 for me has been pretty fucking awesome. Smashed my body composition goals, got into the my scale weight, got below my scale weight goal of 150. And if anybody wants to know why I did this, right, and this isn't really a thing in CrossFit, it used to be, like, especially when you get to like my age, like 52, quite a lot of the time, it's not cool to have aesthetic goals, right? I did my fat loss goals purely for aesthetic reasons. I wanted to look in the mirror and like what I see. I wanted to look in the mirror and see less wobbly bits. That's why I did it. That's why I'm still doing it. Yes, I would like to be a bit stronger. I think I've proved that with the goals that all the goals that I missed. But it's okay. It's okay to want to change the way you look. A lot of people will tell you that it's not, and it's all about strong as a new skinny and all that pish, right? And if you're skinny and unhealthy, then yes, I would absolutely agree with that. But if you want to lose a bit of body fat and have narrower hips and less wobbly arms or a flatter tummy, yeah, fucking go for it. It's absolutely fine, providing you're doing it in a healthy manner. So anybody that says to you, do you know, oh, strong as a new skinny, you didn't want to get too skinny, oh, your face looks too thin, right? Just providing you're healthy, just tell them to fuck off. I've told many people to fuck off, right? I went through a wee phase when everybody was, or not everybody, but a lot of people were saying to me, oh, but you're going to stop now, you're too skinny. You don't get to fucking decide. I get to decide. Anyway, right, so if you're heading towards the end of the year, like we all are, right, but you're thinking to yourself, I didn't do enough, or, do you know, I feel that I should be further on by now, don't do that. Please reframe that, right? So put those questions out your head and ask yourself, what have you found out about yourself this year? Yeah, because that will allow you to reflect and to make some new goals for 2026, all right? Remember, no guilt, right? Being aware of yourself, how you react to situations, how you would maybe react differently the next time you're in that situation, that's progress. Being honest with yourself without guilting yourself and without being mean to yourself, that is also progress. Adjusting a goal instead of quitting is a win, will always be a win. 100% that will always be a win. Whether you hit the original goal or not, that's less relevant. Having the balls to adjust it means you've got bigger balls than just quitting. Find your lady balls. So, thank you very much for listening. If this episode helped you or will help you reflect on 2025 and come out of it feeling more positive than you maybe do at the moment, I'm very glad that you're here. Thanks very much for listening. Please give me a follow on my socials, Coach Caris on Insta and Facebook. I am on Spotify as Coach Caris. I am on YouTube as, yes, you guessed it, Coach Caris. It's very appreciated. If you would like to know anything about my Ladies that Lift coaching, CrossFit for ladies age 45 plus, my midlife reset one-to-one nutrition coaching for midlife ladies, or my on fire group coaching, healthy habits and confidence for midlife ladies, please drop me a message on the socials. Like I said, I am Coach Caris. Thank you very much.